الناس على أنفسهم من قبل.
We are going to educate 40 girls.
It's about looking for all angles.
Le travail, c'est d'abord d'être à l'écoute de toutes les voix, de toutes les sensibilités.
Good evening and welcome to the Asian port city of Jaffa for the launching of I24 News, your newest channel broadcasting from the heart of the Middle East.
Bonsoir et bienvenue ici au cœur de la vieille ville de Jaffa pour le lancement d'I24 News, votre nouvelle chaîne d'information qui émet depuis le Moyen-Orient.
مساء الخير ومرحبا بكم في المرفأ القديم في مدينة يافا مقر انطلاقة قناة I24 News محطتكم الجديدة من قلب الشرق الأوسط.
It is from this very port where civilizations and religions are intersecting for thousands and thousands of years. We are going to give you balanced and independent information.
C'est depuis ce port, carrefour des civilisations et des religions, que nous avons décidé de vous fournir une information neutre, indépendante et de donner la parole à toutes les sensibilités.
هذا هو المنفذ الذي تلتقي فيه الأديان والحضارات منذ آلاف السنين، لهذا قررنا تزويدكم بالمعلومات المستقلة والمتوازنة.
Here, every day, religions are interacting for thousands of years. We are going to present you from the heart of the port, the studios of I24 News.
Ici, chaque jour, toutes les religions se côtoient et nous allons maintenant vous faire découvrir les locaux d'I24 News.
هنا تلتقي الأديان والحضارات في كل يوم، لذا ستتعرفون على استديوهات قناة I24 News.
Right now, behind the scenes of the I24 News studios, we're working here 250 people here and around the world. 150 journalists try to bring you every day the buzz of information. Right now, in a moment, we will get to the newsroom to take a look inside.
Nous sommes maintenant dans les coulisses d'I24 News. 250 personnes travaillent ici et partout dans le monde pour vous informer. 150 journalistes en 3 langues différentes réunis dans une seule et même newsroom. Newsroom que nous allons vous faire visiter dans un instant.
نحن الآن متواجدون وراء كواليس I24 News. هنا يوجد 250 شخصاً يعملون لإحاطتكم ب3 لغات مختلفة و150 إعلامياً سيجعلونكم تعيشون على إيقاع المعلومات من غرفة أخبار واحدة. لنشاهد الاستديوهات.
Broadcast in 3 different languages, French, English, and Arabic, with teams that work together where everyone debates and brings their knowledge for the sole purpose of giving you, the audience, the best possible information and coverage.
Vous l'avez compris, I24 News, c'est une chaîne en 3 versions, française, anglaise et arabe, dans une seule et même rédaction, où chacun apporte sa sensibilité et sa manière de traiter l'info.
قناة I24 News تبث ب3 لغات، الفرنسية، الإنجليزية والعربية، مع طواقم تعمل سوياً. هنا الجميع يناقش ويخصص معرفته لهدف واحد، وهو نقل أهم المعلومات والتغطيات.
It is now time for us to introduce you to the first edition of the channel, and we leave you with the president of I24 News, Frank Maloul.
Il est maintenant temps pour nous d'aller nous installer en studio pour vous présenter la toute première édition de la chaîne. La parole tout de suite au président d'I24 News, Frank Meloul.
الآن نترككم مع الانطلاقة الأولى لقناة I24 News ورئيسها فرانك ميلول.
It's time for me to officially launch I24 News. I'd like to first pay homage to the teams that have been working for months to allow this channel to become a reality tonight. I'm excited on this historic and emotional moment to bring a new perspective to the international media stage, one of the Israeli society and all its complexity in English, French, and Arabic.
Tahia I24 News. Long live I24 News. Longue vie I24 News. Et je dis top antenne.
Good evening. This is the I24 News Evening Edition, First Edition. I'm Lucia Arish, and these are the headlines. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu faces stark choice in wake of the EU's directive on settlements, the Panama Canal, a North Korean vessel, and 200,000 sacks of brown sugar. Where do the weapons fit in? And meet the man who, in a small basement in Tel Aviv, brings Holocaust-era violence back to life. Good evening again, and we begin. The European Union's new directive on Israeli settlements sent shockwaves through the Israeli government and caused much outrage. It also leaves the Israeli government and especially Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu with a stark choice. I24 News diplomatic correspondent Tal Shalev explains.
The day after the European Union bombshell, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is hoping to delay the formal publication of the new guidelines on the settlements, which are due to be published on Friday.
It's not a question of...
Netanyahu will try to explain to EU leaders that their move will make it harder to return the Palestinians to the negotiation table and will also amplify the voices in Israel who oppose the latest U.S. efforts to revive the peace process.
We will not accept any foreign dictates about our borders. This matter will only be determined through direct negotiations between the two sides.
The EU's new directive is an attempt to pressure the Israeli government, following seemingly endless frustration over Israel's apparent contradictory policies. Netanyahu, on the one hand, voices support for the two-state solution. On the other hand, his government continues to build in settlements. Just today, Israeli planning officials approved construction of hundreds of new homes in the West Bank. Netanyahu's coalition is split on the issue of settlements and peace, and this was clear by the way various ministers reacted to the EU directive. The right wing slammed the decision and are pushing for a counterattack against Europe. The other side of the coalition sees the EU move as a wake-up call for Israel to resume negotiations with the Palestinians before its isolation is complete.
Netanyahu will choose to stand by the settlements. He doesn't want to pay in advance of something which is unclear. Why should he abandon his political camp for some kind of opening of negotiation or some kind of a good look by the European? I don't think he will do that.
Netanyahu now has to decide on the future direction of his government. Will Israel choose peace or settlement? The EU directive has made it clear it cannot choose both.
And joining me right now here in the studio is Tal Shalev, our diplomatic correspondent. Tal, good evening.
Good evening, Lucy.
So is the new EU directive is a diplomatic earthquake? Can we say that?
Well, it definitely sparked a diplomatic firestorm and an unprecedented strain on the Israel and Europe relations. The harsh responses from the Israeli side continued today, all day, together with people trying to analyze the document, this new EU document, and trying to understand what exactly it says. We've obtained a copy of the document, and it's important to explain that the new regulations only apply to the institutions of the European Union itself. They do
institutions of European Union itself.
Grants coming from institutions of the European Union itself. It does not formally bind all 28 EU member states, but it does serve as a policy recommendation.
Okay.
So it can set a way of thinking that could be, as people have been warning, a slippery slope for Israel, and it has a very symbolic meaning. Another thing that we should know, even though the formal publication is on Friday, the framework, this framework for the EU, it's actually a framework for financing between 2014 to 2020. it only starts at 2014. So actually, Israel has a few months to try and compromise with the EU's and maybe try and get this a better agreement, or not agreement, a better directive from the Israeli side.
So what we heard from Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was a very hard response to this decision. What is he going to do now?
Well, yesterday Netanyahu summoned some senior cabinet ministers. He had a very strong, as you said, a very strong response. Today, he's already thinking forward. So Netanyahu intends to speak to Catherine Ashton from the European Union, and the foreign ministry and other ministers have starting to have talks with their European counterparts. They're trying to explain that the timing is so bad because of Kerry's, because of the U.S. Secretary of State, not his visit, but his efforts, because everything that happens is that we're already hearing Israeli voices saying no to any gestures to the Palestinians.
So I believe that we will keep on talking about this issue in the next few days. Tal Shalev, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And on his sixth visit to the region, as U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry held a series of meetings in Amman today with Arab officials. The focus, his continued effort at restarting Israeli-Palestinian peace talks and gathering essential support from Arab nations. Kerry met with Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas for 5 hours in Amman yesterday. In the background of talks, of course, has been Syria's ongoing civil war and the growing political divide in Egypt. And right now with me, I24 News correspondent Mohammed Najib joins us now live from Ramallah. Mohammed, marhaba.
Marhaba.
So we understand it was a good meeting with the Arab League, and they basically support John Kerry.
Yes, John Kerry has met this afternoon with Nabil Al-Arabi, the head of the Arab League, and they insisted that if Israel agreed to the Arab peace initiative, then they should recognize the security of Israel, and this will be backing and support for President Abbas to go back to the negotiations with Israel.
So do you think that we heard that Kerry maybe will announce new negotiations before he's flying back on Friday?
Yes, U.S. sources as well as Palestinian sources told me that Kerry is determined to come to Jerusalem and to meet with the President Abbas in Ramallah on a Friday, and to announce the resumptions of the Palestinian-Israeli talks before his departure to the United States.
And like we said, basically Arab League have been backing up Kerry for these new talks.
Yes, he went to Amman and met with Nabil Al-Arabi and with other foreign ministers, and asked them to support Abbas, to encourage him to go back to the negotiations, and to also at the same time to convince Israel, if it is agreed to a peace agreement, then it will have peace with 22 Arab countries, which could be an encouraging reason.
In your opinion, how optimistic should we be?
I see that the atmosphere this time is more optimistic, because Abbas is expected to return this evening to Ramallah. He will call for a meeting for Fatah Central Committee. Tomorrow he is going to meet with PLO Executive Committee and the leaders of the Palestinian factions to tell them about Kerry initiative and to consult with them. This never happened unless if there is something important, as when Abbas has decided to go to the United Nations in 29 November 2012. So this is a good sign that there is progress and there is infiltration, there is something worthy.
Mohammed Najib from our correspondent, I24 News correspondent from Ramallah, thank you very much for this, and we hope to be optimistic, of course. And now to Egypt, where a new interim government has been sworn in, with Army General Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who led the ousting of Mohamed Morsi, named Deputy Prime Minister and Defense Minister. The army says it's fulfilling the demands of the people, while thousands of protesters march through Cairo against the new cabinet. I24 News correspondent Danny Swibel tells us more about the chaos still gripping the largest and most powerful Arab country.